right, awesome. Well, like Rebecca said, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you first for signing up to volunteer with us. We're so excited at the turnout that we've had. It's been really amazing to see how many people are willing to lend us a hand with the data collection. And again, as Rebecca said, it's awesome to see familiar faces, but then some new people to NVRC as well. So my name's Linnea. I'm the one that you've probably gotten emails from so far, but I'm here with Rebecca and Jill, who also work at NVRC. Rebecca, do you want to introduce yourself, and Jill?
Sure. My name is Rebecca Murphy. I am the Coastal Program Manager with NVRC.
And I am Jill Caniff. I am the Regional Demographer and a GIS Manager. So much of the GIS mapping that you'll see as part of this, that is my work. And any comments you have on that or improvements you'd like to see to help with this whole effort, just contact Linnea and she can pass it along to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so basically what we want to go through in the presentation is first just a little bit of background about the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail and an intro into basically why we're collecting this data in the first place. And then we will go through the data collection process and go through like the details of how to use Survey 123, which is the app and software we're using to collect this data, and then just go over some highlights about like safety, some resources that we have, and other similar details. So Rebecca's going to give a bit of intro. I know we have plenty of people on the call that are very familiar with the Potomac Heritage Trail, but for the sake of some of the newcomers, wanted to give a little bit of background.
Yeah, thank you, Linnea. I'm going to give a little bit of background on the trail and also, why we're asking everybody to go out onto the trail and do data collection. So just to provide a very high level overview of what is the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail. And as a note, we'll refer to this as the PHNST, POHE, or just the trail moving forward as well. So this was established as a part of the National Park Service's National Trail System in 1982. And really the goal of that program and of the Heritage Trail in general is to really both protect and conserve, but also celebrate and enjoy the landscape that we have with the Potomac River watershed. So the Potomac Heritage Trail runs from the Allegheny Highlands in Western Pennsylvania all the way down to the Potomac River in Virginia and Maryland. And so this is about 150 or so miles. And then within Northern Virginia in particular, this is 138 miles, again, ranging from Loudoun County all the way down to Prince William County. And we love the Potomac Heritage Trail for the fact that it serves as a really great historic, cultural, environmental resource, but it also allows us to be able to partner with the different land managers, jurisdictions, and other organizations and stakeholders for trails in the region. And so what does the Potomac Heritage Trail look like? So again, I mentioned Prince William County up to the town of Leesburg, and the Heritage Trail is really a braided network in which there is one primary trail path, but also several different branch trails that serve as little spur routes or alternative routes. So as we'll see in the map, sometimes this takes us to different parks and scenic attractions in the area. And one thing to note with this isn't a completed trail network. There are gaps along the trail. One notably is from the town of Leesburg up to about the Harper's Ferry area in northern Loudoun County. So again, certain portions of the Heritage Trail are incorporated into other regional trail networks, such as the Mount Vernon Trail and the WNOD Trail. And the great thing about it is that it has a range of uses. So You can use it for walking and hiking, or you can use it for bicycling, pedestrian. There is also water access to it as well. And next slide. And then just to give you a view of how large this trail spans in the Mid-Atlantic area. So again, Northern Virginia is just one little piece to it, but it is a lot of smaller moving parts. Again, different land managers, different stakeholders all involved.
And I'll just jump in and say it was really hard to get, especially the map on the left and on a slide. So if you're not familiar with the trail, I'd recommend we'll have some links later on where you can go to different maps of the trail. And I'd recommend that because it is hard to capture it in a photo.
Great. And next slide. So again, why are we asking you to go out and do data collection on wayfinding, amenities, interpretation, etc. along the trail? There are a number of reasons. We know having this data is really important. And one thing that we like to trace this back to is our 2021 study. It has a really long name, but essentially it was looking at the health, social equity, and economic impact of the trail in Northern Virginia. So really being able to quantify the benefits of a completed trail system. And something important that we found in those results, of course, you can imagine we found a number of health benefits, economic benefits from completing different trail gaps. But we also did surveys to community groups, and we found interesting reasons why people potentially didn't use the trail, didn't know about the trail. So you can see on the slide here, some of the feedback was that there's not a lot of accommodations along the trail, particularly restrooms, parking lots, those for people with disabilities, and it can be hard to find the trail. So in certain areas, there's not a lot of wayfinding, or what we call directional type signage, to help guide you to the trail. And so again, we noticed as well within this study that a lot of gaps in those access points were in moderately high and high socially vulnerable census tract areas. So this is really serving as a foundation to be able to understand how we can improve pedestrian and bicycling infrastructure to encourage use for the trail. And again, that starts with things like where are blazes, where are restrooms, where are those things that people need to know about when they want to go out on a hike. And next slide. And another key element to this, again, we mentioned the National Park Service is the general program lead for the Heritage Trail. And NPS has a strategic partnership plan ranging from 2022 to 2027. And there's a range of different strategic goals and objectives, all the way down to tasks for the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail. However, a key element to this is the branding and marketing. So how can we put up signage and wayfinding so visitors can enjoy but also find the trail network there? So again, it kind of goes from that lower level, how are we supporting communities and individual neighborhoods, all the way up to the broader goal outside of the Northern Virginia region. And then lastly, some of you might be familiar with this, but in 2022, we completed our corridor analysis. So this was understanding the status of the trail, identifying gaps along it, understanding things like trail characteristics. But another key part of this was understanding our land managers or management stakeholders' priorities for the trail moving forward. And something that repeatedly came up in our interviews with those land managers was the fact that they wanted more wayfinding and interpretive signage and amenities along the trail. A part of that was also maintenance for this. So having data on all of this type of information is going to be really helpful for us to identify where we can put funding and programmatic priorities moving forward to help our land managers with these goals. And with that, I will turn it back over to Linnea. Oh, and you're muted.
Yes, I am. It looks like maybe these got out of order. So I may have to skip ahead and then come back. I'm sorry, just bear with me for a second. There we go. Okay, yeah, it looks like, yeah, these just got moved around, but okay, so we're gonna touch first on survey 123 and what the data collection process looks like. So as I mentioned, we're going to be using survey 123 on mobile phones to collect all of the data that we're going to be asking you to get for us. So in order to navigate to the survey, if you just scan the QR code, or like I said, I'm going to send out the copy of these, or a copy of these slides, and you should be able to click on this link directly. If you open it, it will give you an option to to download the app first, or you can just search survey 123. It's an ArcGIS. It's an ArcGIS program. If you just search it in your app store, it should come up as an option. And then again, when you follow this link or scan the QR code and go to open up the survey, it'll give you an option to sign in to survey 123, but you do not need to have an account to be able to open the survey and to go back into it. So you can just choose to open the survey without creating an account. And one of the things that Jill reminded us of is that you need to make sure that your location sharing service is turned on in your phone settings. It should give you a warning if it's not, but just as you're getting set up in the app, that's something to pay attention to. So these are screenshots from my personal survey 123 account, and I had a few other surveys, so that's why those are blocked off. But once you get the survey opened on your phone, this is what it will look like. The survey is called PHNST amenities. So you will open that, and then each time you open it, it'll give you the option to collect. As you collect surveys, there'll be another option that will pop up below collect that it should give you like your outbox and your sent surveys. So once you get going, it'll look a little bit different, but at least while you're getting started, you will start with collect. And once you open the survey, one of the first things that you'll want to pay attention to is, well, you'll really want to get your bearings for where you are on the trail. So when you open up the app, at the very top, there's the location. And so the little icon that I have circled will mark exactly where you are. And just an important reminder that when I've used this app in the past, it can be kind of easy to forget. When you first open open the app and go to hit collect, at least in my experience, it will normally mark your GPS location where you were when you selected collect. So if you are opening up your app and you open you hit collect and you start the survey maybe before you've walked to the spot that you want to get a point at, that's just a reminder to update your location. And then the other extremely helpful piece that Jill has worked on is the second option, which is the map icon. And so once you click on that, it opens you up into a map. I'll show on the next slide that there are different base maps that you can use. But you, if you hit again that kind of target button, it will show you where you are in proximity to the trail, which is this like bolded orangey line. There are different icons which I'll dig into as well, but it will show you real time on the map where you are, so you can navigate along the trail and along your segment pretty easily. And yeah, as we indicated, there's the little like blue location marker that can be it can be, I think, like dragged and dropped and moved around in case, you know, maybe for some reason you realize that your like your GPS location isn't exactly right, and you know where you're standing. That can be adjusted as need be. And yeah, like I mentioned, you can change the base map. On the previous slide, the map that, or the base map that we had up was this one that circled, the PHNST amenities base map. But if you wanted to look at topo maps, at imagery, any of these other maps to get your bearings, you of course are more than welcome to, whatever ends up feeling most useful for you. But especially, you know, when you are on the trail and trying to figure out which, you know, points of interest and you know, like understanding where you are along the trail itself, this amenities base map is going to be the most useful. Okay, and I'm sorry again, I'm going to go back just a couple of slides. Another really great way to understand kind of where you are while you're out in the fields, and where it can also be used as you're planning ahead of time, is this mapping tool. And so you can, there's a couple of different options in the drop down where you can, you know, find your location. You can search, you should be able to search the segment that you're assigned, and trailheads, your address, that type of thing. And we'll get into this a bit later, but essentially every volunteer is going to be assigned a segment or a series of segments. And so all of those are labeled with numbers and colors. It's, you know, this map is zoomed out, but the tool, and the link is here, is interactive. So you can search your number, you can you know, navigate as you need to be able to get your bearings, both, you know, before, while you're planning and trying to get comfortable with where you're going to be going, but then when you're out on the field too, this is, or out in the field, this is an interactive, really useful tool. And so in the map that I just showed you, and then also in Survey 123, when you're looking at that amenities base map, there are these points of interest that are labeled. And then, as I said, that like orangish solid line is the trail where we're collecting the data. And so there are going to be options in Survey 123 for data collection that ask you to get a point at these cultural, historic sites, museums, visitor centers, scenic view. So it's really helpful to be able to see that on the map and to know how close you are to them. And again, with this like segment mapping tool, you can see your location along your assigned segment while you're in the field. And it's really nice because you get a full screen view as opposed to Survey 123, which is not quite the same. So, okay, go ahead again. So now that we've talked about a little bit about Survey 123, we'll go over what we're actually going to be looking, what we're asking you guys to look for. So some of these are pretty self-explanatory, but it covers different amenities, wayfinding or directional signage along the trail, and then informational or interpretive panels. So we are, I think in the next slide or two, I think that the most options and potentially the most kind of room for confusion can come in with the wayfinding and informational panels and the data collection related to those. So we'll get into more details about that, but you know, things like benches and bike maintenance stations and bike racks and campsites are all pretty self-explanatory. So we're asking if you could look for these amenities and types of signage along the trail. And, you know, I'll again highlight a little bit more about what the segments look like. And you know, some people will be assigned just like, you know, shorter segments, and people may be assigned to like a larger area or a park. So some things to keep in mind as you're going through your segment and along the trail, that if you're wondering, you know, if you can see on the map that there are like loads of different, you know, sites or, you know, potential amenities throughout the park that the trail cuts through. Remember that what we're looking for are amenities that will be most useful for the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail users. So you don't need to include every amenity in the entire park. You want to focus on those that are along the trail, near parking lots and trailheads. Again, if you're assigned a park, near visitor centers or other major facilities. One possible exception is if, you know, say you're assigned a park like Mason Neck, and you find that, you know, as you're going through, or based on your knowledge or based on the map, that maybe there's only one bathroom in the park. Even if that's kind of far away from the trail, it would be good to get a location for that, so that trail users who come know, you know, that they may have to travel off the trail a bit for a restroom. I'll pause for a minute. Does anybody have any questions that they want to interject?
People have been putting stuff in the chat, but we've been answering them, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so we will, again, as we're just kind of going through some of the basics of how to use Survey 123, the previous slide that outlined all of the like types of amenities that we're looking for, those are all the things that we're going to be looking to take pictures of as well. So in the app at the bottom of each survey, there's an option to take photos. And so we ask that, especially for, you know, if you're thinking about like a pavilion or something like that, that may potentially be hard to take or to get a good photo just in, you know, a singular picture. It could be good to take two photos. We kind of leave that up to your discretion, but you can click on the camera to capture a new photo, or for whatever reason, if you had already taken photos of a spot, or are, you know, made a mistake or exited out of Survey 123 or something like that and had an existing photo, you can select from the file as well. So just like, you know, some example pictures here. This is from a few weeks ago when we were out testing the app. So we're looking at in the picture at the right, there's an interpretive sign there. Oops, sorry. There's an interpretive sign there. And then there's also like a wayfinding and directional sign. We're looking at a parking lot. And then in the right-hand picture, there's a couple of picnic tables. For something like picnic tables, we wouldn't ask that you take a photo of each individual table. It would be more like if you're standing back and you take a picture of, you know, the general picnic area with as many of the tables in it as you can. That would be great. And then once you have completed your survey, I just wanted to show how you submit it. There's a little check down in the bottom right-hand corner. And after you've collected the data for each amenity, sign, etc., you hit that, and the survey can either be submitted right away if you have service, and depending on your data plan, or it can be saved in an outbox that will save the survey. And whenever you get to Wi-Fi or you get back into service, you can open it up and hit send now, and it will send all of the surveys that you have sitting in your outbox. One thing that is important to note is that essentially based on like our security settings, after you send each survey, each point that you're taking, you are not able to go back and edit it. It's totally understandable. I experienced this the first time we went out to test. It's easy to make a mistake, or especially once you're first getting into it, and kind of like getting used to the way that things are labeled. But again, you won't be able to like reopen a data entry point that you have already sent. So if you realize that you made a mistake, say you took a picture of a directional sign and labeled it something that you didn't mean to, and you realized it after you hit send, if you just go back to that same spot and take another point, you basically just make a duplicate entry and just amend whatever mistake you had made. It's totally fine. And then there's a comment section at the bottom of each survey. If you could just put that the previous submission in that exact location was an error, then we'll know as we're going through and doing data cleaning that it was a mistake. If you are in a survey and want to get out for any reason, you can either save a draft of what you're working on. If you open one and then realize that you are, you're actually not going to take a point there, you can do the close and lose changes, which will obviously delete the entry that you were doing, or it gives you the option to go back and continue the survey, like in case you accidentally exit out of the app. So that kind of gives like a general overview of using Survey 123. But again, I wanted to kind of dig into some of the details about wayfinding and the informational signage component.
Really quickly, I'll just hop in, and Casey noted that it would be helpful if we just did a recording of one of our screens going through this process, which is something that, excuse me, that we had talked about. And if that would be helpful, we'd be happy to do.
Yeah, definitely. I had told Jill and Rebecca when I had tried that at first, that at least with like my phone screen capturing, you can't capture audio at the same time. But I'm more than happy to still kind of like go through the steps of even like out in the field of opening the app, going through the selections and submitting it. Yeah, that's totally fine.
And Linnea, if I may jump in, this is Jill.
Yeah.
Will you be demoing the survey today?
Yeah.
Online? And at what point will you be doing that?
I was gonna do that at the very end, just so we made sure that we got through everything. And yeah, if we were running short on time, I was just gonna let everybody know that I will I was planning on towards the end of the presentation
That would be
up
great. Based on some of the questions we've gotten, it sounds like people would really benefit from a demo. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so looking at one of the options for the type of data point that you're going to take is a wayfinding or directional sign. So these are the options that will be given. So if you select that you're taking a point of a wayfinding or directional sign, the types are directional, which will give you, and I have some pictures of these coming up just so you know, but that will include things like distances to another location or arrows, trail logo markers. Again, I'll have pictures of these. Blazes, whether they're the blue teal, which is the blaze color specific to the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail, or another color, the on-road bicycling route, sorry, or other. And then there's also going to be a question about the wayfinding trail user direction. So I have some more details about each of these. So when you open when you're looking at the app, and you select, there's at the top here, it's cut off a little bit, but there's the amenity or signage type, and you select one. The option for wayfinding and directional sign will generate these follow-up questions. So the first question is mandatory, and it applies to all wayfinding signage, including signage that's not specific to the Potomac Heritage Trail. So again, that goes through these options that I had mentioned, and I'll skip to a photo in a second. And then the optional question applies to only wayfinding signage that is for the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail specifically. So that includes the blue teal blazes, which is, like I said, the designated color for the trail, directional signs that are labeled with the PHNST logo, and examples of like multi-directional signs are if you are looking at a tree and there's a blaze on both sides, or if you are looking at a directional sign and there are like directions, arrows, that type of thing on one side of the sign as well as the other. So here is an example of the blue teal blaze that is specific to the Potomac Heritage Trail. This is an example or the image of the on-road bicycling route here in green. Sorry. The Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail label is up in the the top left corner. And then the trail banner, which is a combination of the like the blaze paint and the trail label is down on the bottom. So like I said, an example of this is the Potomac Heritage Trail blue. It's located on both sides of this tree. So when you are asked about whether the signage is multi-directional, that's the type of thing you're looking for. If it was on just one side of the tree, you would say that it was one-sided. Since it's on both, it's multi-directional. And then on the right, here's an example of a directional sign. It also has the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail logo. It has the blaze, and then it has the directional sign there. If I remember correctly, this was just like a one directional sign. It was just, as you're walking the trail in that direction, it's facing, it's only facing one way on the trail. Okay, so for informational panels, which again, as I said, compared to something like a bench or a bike maintenance station, that type of thing, this is another one that there's more complex follow-up questions. So these are all of the options and questions that you will see in the Survey 123 app. And I just wanted to give a couple of examples of different types of informational panels. So here's one at Edwards Landing Park. There's another larger one in the middle. I think both of these like indicate, you know, where you are on the trail. And both the one on the left and the one in the middle are labeled as like local experience maps or panels. And then an example of like a regional orientation map is on the right. It's a more zoomed out map that shows you kind of more of the Northern Virginia region and what the trail looks like going through it. Just a few examples of some types of interpretive or informational signs that you might see. So this is one that we saw out in the field. And there's obviously graffiti on it. That's one of the things that we, as you know, we get the data collected. Jill and I will be looking at and making notes of which signs are in good shape, which may need to be replaced in the future or cleaned up, that type of thing. But if you're able to see on the paper on the, I guess the left-hand side, there is this is a bulletin board. So there's a printout of the Potomac Heritage Trail. There's a little spot or a little note that says plan your visit. So there's some information about the trail. Again, if you look closely, there's a trail logo there. You see a map of where you are and the Potomac Heritage Trail as a whole. And so when you are in Survey 123, an example for how you would fill out an entry or point to capture this is, so when you have the drop-down question about amenity or signage type, you'd select informational panel. And then again, that triggers another drop-down. And it will ask you if it's a bulletin board or not. So that was. It will ask questions of whether there's, historic or cultural information. If there's a map, in this case there was, but there wasn't any information specifically on nature and wildlife in the area. There was information for visitors, and at least here I didn't select other, but if there was something else of note that you wanted to include, you can. And I can go back to zoom in again, but as I pointed out, the logo was present. The map was present, and there was a description of the PHNST. Another type of, another option for amenity or signage type is a cultural or historic site. So as I showed a few slides ago, there, in the interactive maps that we have, whether it's in that separate mapping tool or in your Survey 123 base map, there are icons for cultural and historic sites. So as you are kind of looking at your location on the trail and on the map, you would want to make sure that if there are any of those marked or indicated with an icon, that you get a data point for them. So there are the cultural and historic sites that should be marked on there. But as an example, here's one. I can't remember. I guess we were probably close to it when I was getting this data point, because you can see the little triangle there. But there are, if you encounter as you're walking along the trail, one of these, the white metal, pretty like standard signs that usually indicate a site of historical significance, it would be good to get a good clear photo. And then here's another just example of an interpretive sign. It again is in a little bit of rough shape. but that gives an additional example of kind of how you might fill out the survey based on looking at this sign. So, there's no Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail specific information. There is information about like the culture and heritage in this area. There's a map, but there's not, it's not a bulletin board, obviously. There's not visitor information, and there's not information about nature or wildlife. So again, just another example. Okay, so I will, as Jill mentioned, we should hopefully have time for me to get the app pulled up on my computer to give just a quick demo of what it looks like, at least on a desktop. It will look different on your phone. But I will go over some of these other details real quick. So in the liability waiver that we sent out, a lot of this is covered, but again, just as, and I think, a lot of you, I'm sure, are used to being out on trails or in the field, so this may be just common knowledge, but just to reiterate, it's best practice to inform someone when and where you will be out working and for about how long you expect to be out. It's really important to make sure your phone is charged before going out. I mean, for safety reasons, of course, but for the data collection process, I will say that in my experience, the app can drain your battery if you're using it for long periods of time. So if you happened to have access to a portable charger, or just in general making sure that your phone is all the way charged up before you go out is ideal. Be sure to wear sunscreen, insect repellent, other PPE as necessary. Check for ticks. I personally am very allergic to poison ivy, so whenever I go out to do field work, I usually bring like sanitizer or alcohol wipes with me. Not all of the trails are, difficult or even moderate, but we recommend, of course, if you're going to be out on a trail, to wear sturdy shoes. And, as always, if you're ever out and feel unsafe for whatever reason, data can be collected. I mean, if you're on a segment of the trail that you just don't want to work on in general, once you're out there, feel free to let me know, or you can always come back and do it another time. I can come out with you if you end up feeling more comfortable. Yeah, just things to keep in mind. So there's a lot of stuff on this slide, but kind of going into more details about the trail segments. When you all filled out the survey about your availability and the location that you'd like to or you'd prefer to work in, that type of thing, we're basically going to go through each of those, like all of your responses and our list of segments, and assign them based on how you responded to that survey. So that will be, we're going to work on that, especially after the training, just in case, anybody, you changed your mind, if we get a couple more participants, that type of thing. We will be working on doing the assignments over the next week, and we aim to get those out to you by the end of next week. So you'll get an email with your assigned segments, and I'll be sharing those with you. So if you have any questions, you can definitely follow up with me about that. But then, like I had shown in this map, you will be able to see where those segments are, and it's really helpful. You can zoom into the parking areas, your assigned IDs, the parks and trailheads around where you'll be working. And just for your reference, the starting and ending points for all of the segments, Jill based them off of like parking lots, trailheads, parks, and natural features. So the goal is to make it as kind of easy and clear as possible where your segment will start and stop. But that's also the pro of these two different options for maps, like interactive maps, so you can see where you are. Let's see. Oh yeah, and I just made the quick note. We're really grateful to see that we had a couple of people say that they could do multiple days of like volunteer data collection for us, which is fantastic. As we go through the like the process of dividing up the segments, that may end up not being necessary. So we just wanted to give you a heads up, but we'll get that information out to you as soon as possible. And with that, I think almost 3/4 of everybody has signed the liability waiver. But just a quick note about that, in order for me to send you your assigned segment, the liability waiver has to be signed. And it would be ideal if you could please get those done or filled out as soon as possible, just because it's hard to like accurately assign the segments until we know how many people are going to be joining us as volunteers. So a few responses to questions from the volunteer form. Let's see. I commented on this earlier. Sorry, this is so sensitive. Does a smartphone need an unlimited plan, or can you type in the survey information offline and upload it later? Yes, you can save your data entries in your outbox and send them all in. They usually, like if you go into one of your entries, after it's been sent, or after it's been just like saved in the outbox, if you go to send one of them, it usually will just like batch send all of them, just so you know. And I was asked if we're capturing which trails and amenities are ADA accessible, or if we're capturing slope. We're not doing that in the study for a few different reasons, and the same with areas that may be high risk for flooding. I think there's going to be future projects looking at that. We do not have any phones available for loan. Kind of one of the stipulations, I guess, of volunteering is that you will have to use your own phone. But Jill, please correct me if I'm wrong. But I think once you've done all of your data collection, and you can, delete the app once they're all sent in, because it's Survey 123 is like a cloud-based platform. So it won't need to take up space on your phone for forever. And then I think one of the most important questions is, when is the deadline for the data collection? We will need all of the data in no later than June 1st. So the goal is that there's some flexibility based on your schedules, but in order for us to meet our deadlines and do all the necessary, data cleaning and compiling of information, we will need you to please collect the data for your assigned segments by the beginning of June. And a couple of resources. So if you would like an NVRC staff member to join you, especially on your first outing, or if you're only going out for one day and would just feel more comfortable having someone with you, please feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to to work with your schedule and try and get out there to join you. A recording of the video and a PDF of the slides, as I mentioned a few times, will be sent out after the meeting. It may be helpful, if you found the slides helpful, and would like to have them as a reference when you're out in the field. It may be useful to try and save them in a spot on your phone where you could access them when you're offline. I also kind of tried to explain each of the terms, or each of the types of like amenities or signage that are options in survey 123. So if you had any questions about those, I consolidated them on just a couple of slides that are next. So feel free, of course, to either, if you have access to the presentation on your phone, that's great, or you can print them and bring them into the field for reference too. And then when I send out the presentation, you'll have access to these links, but we have a dashboard with information about the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail, which includes information on our the studies and reports that that are ongoing or that have been done in the past, interactive maps, and lots of information about the trail. So yeah, again, just a recap. So you kind of have them in one place. These are the key links. There's the QR code and link for the survey 123 survey for this work. And then there's also the assignment locations web map, which is the interactive one where you can see where your segment is. So I won't go through all of these, but this is kind of what I had mentioned, just key terms that you can look back and reference. And I think there are 3 slides. Yeah. So again, if you would find it to be helpful to have these either printed or on your phone, that's great. A couple ways to stay informed after this work is done. The study results will be published on the dashboard that I mentioned in the studies section, and all the amenities will be added to visitor maps. And then if you'd like to stay updated just in general about regional trails in Northern Virginia and to receive email updates about the study, please subscribe to our quarterly trails e-newsletter, and the link is there. Let's see what time it is. I am more than happy to answer any questions, or if anybody wants to ask questions that either I or Jill or Rebecca can answer, that's great. But I will also I will get the survey pulled up and give a demo really quickly. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and get that pulled up.
Lucia, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, I downloaded the app on my phone, and when I went in, I continue without signing in, and then it tells me I don't have any surveys on my device, which makes sense because I haven't put any on there. But when I hit download surveys, then it wants me to sign in to download surveys.
I think I encountered the same thing, and what I did was just I opened the link or use the QR code again, and it'll give you the option to open it in the app. And then I think once you do that, it should stay as like a survey option in your app, if that makes sense.
Go back to where?
Yes, so Linnea is correct that as long as you have the app downloaded, the QR code for the survey will then work properly.
Well, okay.
So if you do the QR code without having the app, it's going to prompt you to download the app.
Okay.
So that's why it's not working. But now that you've got once you have the app, you can go back to the QR code and it'll load it to your survey 123.
Okay, so once you guys send us that copy of the QR code again, then I
Yes,
take another picture of it, and everything will be hunky-dory.
It should be.
yeah, it should be.
That's the hope.
Okay.
But if you have problems, let Linnea know for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've got her email right down here. Yes. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, looks like she's got it. Awesome.
Yeah, okay, so I have I don't know if I'm able to go into full screen with this, but
We can
Okay.
see it very well, Linnea, so this is great.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, so when I was setting this up, I already hit collect. So this is what will open up when you hit collect. So when I hit that little target button, it marked my location where I am right now. So that's what I was saying, you know, if you hit collect, you're walking along the trail, and then you come to a spot where you want to like make a new data point. So you come to a blaze, you just want to hit that that location icon. So it marks the correct GPS spot for where you're going to take the picture. And then this is what it looks like. You know, I'm at the NVRC office. Know why it's being a little bit glitchy. But this is where you can change the base map. So, you know, it's honed in on my location, but I'm trying to zoom out. It's just here. Let me look at. Okay, there we go. So you can see, you know, one of the options for like a data entry point is a scenic view. So you can see that camera here indicates a scenic view. So if you were assigned, you know, segment 72, it would be good, since, you know, that's pretty in pretty close proximity to the trail. It would be good to go and get a photo of where that scenic view would be. Or there's this question mark indicates a visitor center. So again, since that's, you know, really close to this segment of the trail, it'd be good to go and get a photo of that. And then any other amenities that are close by. What I was trying to say earlier was, you know, this isn't necessarily a great example, but can you see my cursor?
Yeah.
Like my mouse. Okay.
Yes.
So say say you're assigned to this segment of the trail and you see like way out here that there's like a point of interest. If it looks like it's a pretty considerable distance from where you are on the trail, it wouldn't necessarily make sense for you to spend the time going out to find that, if it doesn't seem like it would be like relevant, I guess, to a PHNST trail user. But I won't do this because it will put me back to where I am, which is not close to the trail really. But so say you're, you know, walking along here and you want to get a sense of where you are on your segment. You can hit again this like location button and it will show you where you are. So I had the slide that laid out all of the different amenity types and signage, and this is where you'd select that. And most of them, so like recycling bin, it doesn't prompt any other questions other than just asking you to take a photo. The reason we had drilled down into the informational signs and the wayfinding and directional sign is those will ask follow-up questions. So again, there's the directional signs, there's the trail logo, the blazes, the bicycle route. And then if the whatever sign you're looking at or blaze is specific to the Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail, that's when you would answer this question here. But if you come across like a yellow blaze or a pink blaze or something like that, that's not that kind of blue teal. We would still, for example, want you to get a picture of that, but you wouldn't need to answer if it was one direction or multi-directional. And then again, you want to take a photo. And if there's anything at all that you're kind of questioning or uncertain about, when you go to submit each of these entries, feel free to put anything in the comments that you think might be relevant. Okay. Then I will pull up. This is just a closer look at the like volunteer assignments interactive map. So you can see there's all of the like the colors and corresponding numbers over here.
Linnea, just a heads
Linnea,
up,
we're not
it's still on
seeing
the, it's still on the app.
Oh, okay, thank you. I will, let's see.
And Linnea, before you move to that, could you show them what happens when you do the check mark?
Yes,
The
sorry,
submission?
I just, I don't know if that actually changed, but I will go back to this. Okay, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So it actually may not let me, because I don't have a like a photo. Yeah.
Right, so it'll give you
Um,
an error if you haven't filled out everything. It'll sit back to the top there.
Yeah,
Linnea, you had,
it'll
it'll
tell you
say
what's
you-
required.
right, if you did not fill out everything that was required, it will give you that error.
Yeah, but I have a screen, I think I should have a screenshot of what options you will get when you hit the check mark. So that's when it will ask you if you want to send it now or save it in your outbox.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
And there's a quick question from Liz of how do you get to the amenities map? Do you just want to show one more time getting to that base
Oh,
map?
the base map? Yeah, of course. So that's at the top. So the target will just mark your location. This map icon will get you to, let's see, it will get you to your map. And then you change the base map by clicking this, the icon with like 4 little maps. And then you ideally, I think, would want to select the PHNST amenities base map. That will have the, that also has the segments, all the color-coded segments in it. It has the points of interest, and I think most things that you would want to reference. Okay. And then I'm just gonna, I recognize that we're about at time, but I'll just show this really quickly.
Thank you.
Okay, so all of the different segments are color coded and then labeled with a number here. So you should be able to, there's like a drop down over here, so you should be able to search by address, by your section, so you can search by like the number that you've been assigned, and trailhead. So I think a lot of that will make more sense when I like send out the emails with kind of your assigned section, but this should be really helpful for you to be able to orient yourself, and then either have it, you can have it up on your, you should be able to have it up on your phone, and use, as I had mentioned, kind of when you're planning to go out, and then when you're out in the fields. Any questions about this?
I would just say, could you demonstrate, like if you said Potomac Heritage National Scenic Trail Section ID number 5, for instance.
Sure.
If you were assigned 5, this is what would happen. So this information is what would come up. So you have more of the things that we're interested in having you collect when you're out in the field. So this shows you the path that you would follow, that you would be assigned to. It also shows you all the points of interest that we'd also ask that you collect for us. So I think that really, as you see, as we zoomed in, you got the level of detail with all these extra detail levels. So that is the purpose of this map, as well as so you can know when you're out in the field where you are. And to do that, that's on the left-hand side of this map, and the toolbars on the left. If you could show them that icon, Linnea, of going to your exact location. So you can, right, you can use that when you're out in the field. You can use this application because it shows a full screen of the map. And so to find your location and see the full screen, this application will be very useful, I believe, for you. So hopefully that answers the questions. Any other questions? I think Russell, looks like you have a question.
Yes, I'm assuming, and I've submitted this under the chat, that at some point when we get our assignment, we'll also get a separate transmission of the QR code so that we can use that to populate the survey 123 once we download the survey 123.
Yep, yeah, I can send it out with each when I send the
Our assignments.
assignment. Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
If
I'll
you-
also send
you.
like a PDF copy of the slides, and so the QR code will be in there, and then all of the links that are embedded should be able to be opened from there too.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Any other questions or anything unclear? I'm sorry, I know that was a lot of information. If you think of anything between now and when you go into the field, please feel free to let me know if there's anything that's still unclear. Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate that. Awesome. Well, I'll stay on the call for a few minutes as we're a little after 6:30. So I'll stay on if you think of any other questions, but if not, reach me by email or as you review the slides or anything comes up, just let me